Hey guys, we're on our overhead setup today because I decided that it would be a fun thing to do like in between our review videos and stuff, and on days where I just personally don't feel like being on camera and sometimes like I need something that's easy to do. We could do collection videos, and I've been wanting to do an eyeshadow palette collection video for some time, but I have close to 100 palettes, if not over 100 palettes now, so it would be a very, very extremely long video. So I decided it would be fun to do it in parts, and that way we could do it in between other stuff to kind of switch things up. And today, if you couldn't tell, we're gonna start with Colourpop. So I just kind of have everything spread out. The way I do this setup is like propping my phone up a certain way on my tripod, so it's kind of where we're at. And if you hear any really loud noises, I really apologize. My upstairs neighbors are constantly, their children are always running across the house, meaning you can hear everything on my ceiling. And hopefully it's not loud enough for you to hear, but it's happening. So I don't know what order I got all of these palettes in, but I'm just gonna go through them. So like first set that we have here, these are obviously newer. This was the one of the collections that they just launched. They launched it with just Ulta whenever all the quarantine stuff was going on, and I always forget the name of the collection itself, but it consisted of the She's Got Solstice palette and all things Equinox. So the She's Got Solstice, I love the packaging on these. I think they're absolutely beautiful, and this is what she looks like. So these palettes do not have a mirror. Usually the ones in the cardboard packaging do not have a mirror, and then the ones in the plastic do. But this is what the shades look like. Such a pretty palette. I made a look with this, and this Super Stardust shade is insane. It feels like it might be a Super Shock formula, the way that it is kind of like wet feeling. But that is that palette. And then we have the All Things Equinox, which looks like this. I wasn't so drawn to this palette as much, but I always like to get everything for the collections and just kind of test them out. And I did, it did swatch a lot more impressive. Like the swatches were a lot more intriguing than just the palette itself. But if you want to see it swatched, I do have videos from my past videos that have swatches in them. I can't talk today. You see what kind of situation I'm in, guys? But anyway, that is the All Things Equinox palette. Next here I have the Mint to Be, and teal is my favorite color. I love like mint teal, like Tiffany blue teal, like all the like minty kind of shades. So when this was coming out, I was like, oh, like I have to have that. So this one has a mirror, so you probably are seeing some of my room going on, but that is the Meant to Be palette. This shade is absolutely beautiful. I accidentally just touched it like a tiny bit, and you can see some pigment already on my finger, but these shades are so pretty. I was thinking like, did I want to try to like do any sort of swatches, but we have so many palettes to go through, so I'm really just like showing my collection. I like the videos of people like just showing off their collections. So, and I thought, like I said, doing it by brand, and then at the end when I have just palettes that I have like one of from a brand or something, we'll just kind of do all of those together at the end. But I do have a lot of palettes that it's like I have a bunch from one brand, so we can do them by brand. But that's the Mint to Be. I'm like kind of obsessed with the whole like aesthetic of this palette. Lilac You A Lot is one of the first palettes that I got. I think my actual first palettes from Colourpop, I ordered them together, I'm almost positive, and it was the California Love and Honey. We'll get to them in a second. But this is Lilac You A Lot, and I'm a very big pastels person, so I love, like I said, the teal, I love like lavender, and this palette, the purples in here are amazing. I actually have a look on my Instagram, my Galaxy Tears look that I did for a colorboard collab. I used these purples down here, and they were absolutely amazing. And that center shade here is absolutely gorgeous. But that is the Lilac You A Lot. I'm like trying to make sure I'm like showing things well, and I'm not used to this angle. So let's get to the Honey. This was one of my first Colourpop palettes, and I'm die-hard obsessed with yellow eyeshadows, and I'm obsessed with like mustardy yellow, bright yellow, all the yellows, and this literally has all of it. Oh, you could see me. Oh, see, I look terrible. But I'm obsessed with this. Like, all of this stuff down here, like, it's just, all the yellow undertones in it are amazing. This bright yellow is super bright. The glitter is gorgeous. The shade Sunburst is like the most amazing inner corner highlight ever. And I'm obsessed with this palette. And then we have California Love. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I ordered those two palettes, were like my first two Colourpop palettes, and I ordered them together. I'm almost positive. And this is a cardboard palette, but this is actually not a 9-pan. Most of my palettes from Colourpop are 9-pan, but some of them are the bigger palettes. So this is a 12-pan. And I loved the entire vibe of this because it's like very summer, obviously, California Love with all the palm trees. And then it's just like the best little palette for a warm toned eye, and is actually picking up more like cool tone on camera, but it's completely warm. Like, this is like a very like deep, like maroony type of orange shade. And then like this is like a very like warm brown. It's very warm, but everything's coming up very cool tone on my camera. But I am obsessed with this little guy. I'm obsessed with all of them. I love all my palettes. Eyeshadow palettes are my favorite thing about makeup, so if you didn't notice. Okay, let's go back into a couple of 9-pans. So Blush Crush and Nude Mood were, they were like technically two separate collections, but they came out together. So there's like a whole like set of Nude Mood stuff and then a whole set of Blush Crush stuff. But I grabbed the palettes for sure, and then I did grab a couple of other items, but Nude Mood is cute. I like the way it looked. It's but if you, I don't know, I feel like it's very reminiscent actually of California Love a little bit, like some of your shades in there, kind of the same kind of deal, but it was a cute palette. I'm very much into getting all the palettes from all the collections, and like in the end, if I end up not using it as much, it might get decluttered one day and given to a new home, but it's a beautiful little palette. And then Blush Crush is one of my favorites. I pull this out all the time, especially whenever I'm like getting ready for work and I need just nice neutral colors. I love me a good, just like neutral mauve-y kind of pink, and this shade Cheek to Cheek at the bottom is one of like my go-to sweep it all over, call it a day shades. But it is so cute, little pinky blushy palette. And this blush wine shade with the reflect in the end, but that color is like a very like wine color, and again, it's just not reading super well on camera. I'm wondering if I can change my lighting a little bit. Give me 1 second. That might help a little bit. That's a little bit warmer of a lighting, so, but I feel like that shade is so pretty down here. So that's Blush Crush. And then we have Making Mauves. This is another one of my favorite palettes. The packaging is so beautiful, and I pull this one out all the time again because it's called Making Mauves, and I love me like a good mauve shade. And one of the shades that I go to all the time is Big Fig. I love everything about this palette and the shades in here. I feel like the shades just aren't reading well on the camera. They just really aren't. But that is Making Mauves. Again, it's a cardboard palette, so there's no mirror in it. But I love Colourpop 9-pans. Obviously, I have like a million of them. So I can't decide if I liked the other lighting better or not. What do we think, guys? Yeah, it's a little brighter. We'll stay where we were. We'll just go back to where we were. Going Coconuts. If someone said, okay, you're only allowed to keep, you know, say maybe like your top 3 Colourpop palettes, this definitely would be in that category. I'm obsessed with this palette, and you just, for the neutral eye, it's like everything. You can see I have a little dent in one of my shades. One day whenever I was doing my makeup, I dropped this palette and all of the pans popped out, luckily on carpet, so you see none of them really broke. The little dent actually happened whenever I was like placing them back into the palette. Fun fact, the plastic palettes, underneath each row is a magnetic strip. So these pans come out, and then they just plop right back in. So luckily I just plopped them right back in and sanitized it, and we were good to go. But you can actually see like all of that is where I sprayed like rubbing alcohol. But beautiful palette, most beautiful like neutral palette ever. The browns, like I'm kind of obsessed with this palette. But Going Coconuts, if you have a question on like what Colourpop palette you should get this one. And then we have Baby Got Peach. I loved the name, and like, I don't know, it's so cutesy to me. And this was also, I feel like one of my more like first Colourpop palettes, like closer back to when I started liking them, but I did get it whenever it came out. The most beautiful peachy palette ever. I just love it. That glitter up in the top is just like so opalescent and so pretty. The shade Centerfold is absolutely gorgeous, but I say it about every palette, I'm obsessed. I love Colourpop so much, so let's just try to not say how obsessed I am with every single palette, but I feel like I have already. But it's so good. Get Even is such a good like duochrome shade. Half Baked is such a good like deepening shade. Oh, the whole thing. Baby Got Peach is such a good one. Such a good one. Okay, and then we have Smoke Show. Okay, so there's a thing with this palette, I'm sure everybody knows, but if you don't, and I actually just found this out because I didn't know what happened and why they changed the name, and then a friend informed me of the situation. They had a lawsuit. I got this palette whenever it very first came out, and it was the Smoke Show collection, and apparently another company had a palette called Smoke Show, and so they have now since changed the name of this palette to Blowin' Smoke, in case you decide you want to look for this palette. But this whole thing, they posted it and it looked like it was a black and white photo. So the whole thing was it was supposed to look like it's in black and white, grayscale, whatever you want to say, and it's like a whole black and white palette, and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's genius. Like, it's so genius, and I'm obsessed. And the smoky looks that I've created with this are just insane. This silver is ridiculous. This black that has like shimmer in it in the bottom, like you can't tell how deep it looks on camera, but like in person these blacks are just like so deep black, and it's everything. It's really everything. I was obsessed with how they obsessed is my favorite word. There I go again. But I loved how they marketed this, like, because I was like, oh, is this a sneak peek of a collection, because it looked like a black and white photo, and then it was like the actual collection. I was like, wow, that is amazing. Let's go ahead and do the last few 9 pans. So this is the most recent collection, the tie-dye collection, and I got the 3 palette like set, so it comes in this little fold here, and they are the plastic palettes. This is Miss Bliss. I loved the whole vibe of this collection because it's like tie-dye pastel colors, so gorgeous. But how like cute is this with the little like digital hearts and stuff, and I had to have the whole thing. And like the glitters are beautiful, and I love how this is like a very cute little like peachy orangey palette. So that's Miss Bliss. And then In a Trance was my favorite when they were doing the advertising, but look at her, oh my gosh. It's just like giving me like cotton candy cloud vibes with like the purples, the pinks, and the blues. But this was like a dream color story for me, and I just fell in love with this. So that's the In a Trance. And then the one on the very end here is Aura and Out, and I actually used this as part of a look I did. I did a watermelon look. If you guys want to go take a look, I talk about this whole collection, swatch the palettes, and I did a watermelon look where I used this shade Fresh Cut was like my base shade for like my watermelon rind situation. But there's this like set of beautiful greens, some little like orange and yellow little accent colors, some blue. This is like a full-on like mint metallic shade, and they have a solid white in here. But all of these were just so cute, and the packaging was just so adorable, and I love this whole situation they got going on here. And then it just folds back up and goes back in its little sleeve. I've been keeping them in the little sleeve because I think it's just so cute, and they call it the Cloud Dye little palette vault when you get all of the palettes in one. So that's all of the 9 pans. So that makes, let's see, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 9 pans. We have 14 9 pans. Wow. Okay. And so then we looked at California Love, which was a 12 pan. And then my other 12 pan that I have is the All That palette. This was their Valentine's collection, and I loved that it was more red instead of pink, and how it kind of has this like sort of like nighttime vibe with the neon lights and stuff. And I was just like, oh my gosh, look at these reds. It is a cardboard packaging, so there's no mirror, but it has all the little art in there. And this glitter is so gorgeous. These deep reds, like anytime I'm like, I really just want a red smoky eye, this is the palette, like 110%. Can't go wrong with this. So I am in love with this one. I actually a lot of time want red eyeshadow. I feel like it looks good with my blue eyes, and whenever I need red, this is one of my favorite palettes to go to. Okay, this is the Misunderstood palette from the Villains collection. I was working in Ulta whenever this collection came out, so it was really convenient. But this palette, how many shades are in this one? This is a 15 pan palette. 5, 3, yeah, 15 pan. But this was the Villains collection. I loved the entire vibe of the Villains collection. I have a bunch of the highlighters with like all my favorite villains. And then one of my favorite eyeshadow shades, period, of all time is Mongrels. This is the best shade to put on as just a beautiful shimmer, to use as a topper, like the most beautiful champagne shade ever. And because like this is literally like my favorite eyeshadow like ever, I am gonna swatch this one. But I can't even. Like, I feel like I put this shade over everything, like almost everything. Like I'll put something down and then I'll be like, I need it to shine more, I need it to sparkle more, and like this is my go-to. This is my like everything shade. And so I actually have one of these palettes that's brand new unopened, like on backup, because the collection did go away. It was limited edition. So I have one of these palettes that is completely unopened on backup for whenever, because this shade, you can see it's like actually really dug into. So whenever it finally hits pan and I run out of it, whatever have you, I have another one, because it is like my favorite champagne eyeshadow of all time. So there's that. I wasn't planning on swatching things, and now I'm like, got this shade on me, but tell me that isn't just like giving you the feels. Okay, so as far as bigger palettes go, this is a build your own palette that I did from Colourpop, and I did a challenge that I saw someone else do, where they put their phone on the like inverted colors or whatever, so you can't actually see what color the eyeshadows are, and you pick the eyeshadows based off of the names. So these all have individual names, and I picked these, and then whenever it came, I tried to put it together like the way I thought it looked best, and I got a mixture of like all the different formulas. And so we have like some glitters, we have a bunch of mattes, and then we have duochromes and metallics. But that was a build your own palette that I made, and all these shadows are absolutely beautiful. And you get to like pick, they have a couple different palettes that you can pick from. I thought this one was super cute with like the roses and the leopard print. And then you get all the pans, and they come individually. But I thought that was a super fun challenge to not know what colors you were getting and then get them and be surprised. Okay, another one of the best palettes, neutral palettes ever. This is the Bare Necessities palette, and it is one of their like super large palettes. I don't even remember how many shades are in here. Let's see, we have 6, so 30. There's 30 shades in here. But if you need something to like take with you when you travel that you can do so much with, and like be like neutral, but you want to have like your browns, you have your like lighter neutrals, you have your like pinky purple shades, and like Silk Teddy is one of the best shimmer shades ever. But like this palette, you have a black in the bottom. There's just so much you can do with this, and this is one of my favorite palettes of all time. This and Going Coconuts like are just so magical. So that is the Bare Necessities palette. Love it. Okay, we're on our last our last palette for Colourpop. So jaded. When I saw this come out, I was like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. Like, look at the packaging, so beautiful. This was the Kathleen Lights collab, but then look at these shades. This is a Super Shock up in the top, and this is called Diamond. I'll actually swatch that one too. Again, another amazing shimmer shade. It's just so beautiful. I love those type of shades, and it's like a Super Shock, so the formula is really good, again, for like a topper. But these shades are so amazingly beautiful. They're obviously named after like, you know, precious stones, and so you have like citrine and tiger eye and topaz, turquoise, amethyst, sapphire. There's one in here, hold on a second, let me find it. Alexandrite. So this one is that's my birthstone, and I love it because the birthstone, it shifts from green to purple, and the way they did this shade, it has like both green and purple in it, just like the stone itself. So I thought that was really pretty. See me getting into swatches when I said I wasn't gonna go full in. Hopefully this video won't be too long, but we've got a couple of glitters in this palette, and this palette is just very, like, you could be very neutral, but you could also get very colorful. So I feel like this would also be a good palette if you said, like, I need something good to travel with. It has good pigment, it has a good color selection. This would be a really good one because you can do like a nice little neutral warm eye. You can pop into your glitter, you can pop into your shimmers, and then you can like get into the greens, the turquoise, the purple. Like, you could do so much with this palette, and all the shades are super beautiful. So that is my entire Colourpop eyeshadow palette collection. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 14 9 pans. So that's 20 Colourpop palettes. It's a lot of Colourpop. Like, honestly, this is pretty satisfying to me to just like do some of this business and like see them all kind of everywhere. But here's just a giant stack pile of Colourpop, and their shades are just all so beautiful. Like, I'm obsessed with, there goes the word again, but I'm obsessed with Colourpop. So go check out Colourpop. So affordable, so amazing. They always have, like, you can find people who have codes with them, so you can get discounts from them. Ugh, I can't get over that shade Mongrels. That's like literally my favorite eyeshadow shade of all time. Literally, out of anything ever. So beautiful. But I hope you guys enjoyed this first part of me doing like collection videos. Like I said, I figured it'd be good to break it up so the videos won't be insanely long, because then we probably would have had, for like all my eyeshadow palettes, it would have been such a long video. But I love you guys so much. I'll be back, I'm sure, with more like unboxing or reviews coming up here in the next week. And then, like I said, we'll do videos for like this situation kind of in the in-between. I love you guys so much. Like I always say, feel free to message me on Instagram or anything if you want to ask me any questions or talk to me. I am always pretty quick to respond. So love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one.